So for the NFC North, I think the Vikings are going to be the team that prevails out of there. Outside of Cousins, their team is really, really solid. Their defense has gotten better. I'm hoping that they can just do enough to hold back the Packers, who should have another good season, even though they failed to get Aaron Rodgers a actual offensive threat in the first round when they had the opportunity. But outside of that, down to the South, my Buccaneers. Okay. They got Tom Brady. They got Bruce Arians. They were on the fast track of doing well. The problem is that Arians had Winston throwing the ball 50 times in a game, which leads to him turning the ball over. Yes. In this circumstance, they've got a legion of running backs. Their offensive line's gotten better. They've got great wide receivers. I can see my Bucs going ahead and win the South this time around, in which it always rotates in the NFC South between those four teams, which makes them one of the best divisions in the NFL.
That's true. That's a good point. Yeah, I hadn't thought of it that way. That's true.
So the East, them boys. Cowboys are going to get over the hump. New coach, different philosophy, possibly a different setup. McCarthy's probably going to make Kellen Moore change some things on the offensive side and actually get more creative. I can see them going ahead and taking the East away from the Eagles. And in the NFC West, in a shocker, I think the Seahawks are going to win it. Their defense looks like it's gotten a little bit more revamped. Their offensive line's gotten a little bit better. It's Joystick Wilson, and I think he's going to vie for the MVP this season. Okay. This is the year that he should be fighting to go win it.
Okay.
All right.
NFC North for me, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to stick with the Packers. I don't think that 13-3 was a fluke. I think that Matt LaFleur's system, in a sense, being a more run-oriented team, as opposed to letting Aaron Rodgers play jazz too much, I think that actually helps. It's not as spectacular. Rodgers doesn't like it, but they win ball games. They just ran up against a juggernaut defense again last season in the 49ers. But I think that, I do like the Vikings roster. There's nothing not to like about it, really, except Kirk Cousins being able to get over the hump. I feel like he's going to drag them down, and I don't like their receiving core without Stephon Diggs. So they'll be solid. They'll push for a playoff spot. I don't think they're going to get one, but they're still solid because of their defense.
That's a valid point. I didn't think about the wide receiver thing.
Yeah, the Bears and the Lions, I think they'll just still be the Bears and the Lions, unfortunately. Trubisky's still the starter.
He just got named the starter too. Yeah,
he just got named the starter, and the Lions are just the Lions. I mean, they're just the Lions. They've always, even back to the days of Barry Sanders. NFC South. Now, these next three, Jay, the only thing I hate more than disagreeing with you is agreeing with you. You'll make sense of that later. But the NFC South, I'm taking the Bucs. This is Brett Favre's first season with Minnesota. This is what this looks like to me with Tom Brady, playing with the best offensive team he has ever played with something to prove, with the new environment, with the coach who will give him a lot of control over the offense, which is exactly what he wants. And you pair that with one of the best front sevens in football, the Bucs are going to win this division, hands down. NFC East, same, Cowboys. I love their roster top to bottom. I think the Washington team and the Giants will be better, but not good enough. And I think the Eagles are going to regress a little bit because it seems like at some point in the season, just the whole team is injured, and they're going into this season with guys nicked up and already injured, especially in the wide receiving core. And there's only so much that Carson Wentz can do with that. So the Cowboys are going to win this division. In the NFC West, Seattle Seahawks. I think people are underestimating how huge of a pickup Jamal Adams on that defense was. That's almost like picking up a Russell Wilson for your defense with his ability to read football, with his ability to hit guys, with you always having to account for where he is. I mean, he's approaching Ed Reed territory, and this is how good he is.
He really is.
So I'm loving the Seahawks this year.
I'm with you on that. And the Eagles, to kind of touch on that, like the Vikings, I didn't think about the wide receiver situation, but I still think he can overcome that because Cousins throw the ball ton of times. Yeah. Alvin Cook's good enough. Yeah. But the Eagles, I'm with you. They just announced that Peters agreed to move to the left tackle now. But Peters, at his age, is a little bit more injury prone, even though they just have an injury in the left tackle. And you're right. For some reason, they always get hurt. They're like literally always injured. And I can see Carson Wentz doing the same thing. Now, they will potentially become a better team when one player goes in that I've said in college is a lot better than people want to give him credit for. And he may actually be better in the NFL than we're going to give him credit for. That's Jalen Hurts. He might take over that starting spot eventually. I mean, if he's healthy. He's healthy. Okay.
They just signed Josh McCown, too, by the way. 41-year-old Josh McCown.
On the practice squad. The oldest practice squad ever, which to me is basically a doorway for him to get into coaching. He's going to be the next John Harbaugh.
Probably. I mean, hell, he's seen basically every offensive staff in football because he's been everywhere ever that was ever created back to the days of Otto Graham. So I don't see why not.
I wonder if he's got every jersey for every team he's been on hung up in his closet.
Close. He does. Right. He's naked. So NFC, who are your wild card teams?
So for the NFC wild card, I'm going to take in a shocker.
Okay.
Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
I think the Cardinals are going to surprise us this year. Their roster's loaded. And all they got is a young quarterback. But their roster's loaded. Defensively, I mean, they drafted Isaiah Simmons. They still got Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick Patterson. My apologies. Chandler Jones. So Isaiah Simmons and Chandler Jones out there.
Mm-hmm.
God, it's going to be stupid. The offensive line, I think it's gotten a little bit better. But on the offense, they got DeAndre Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got Kenyon Drake out there with Chase Edmonds. So Drizzy, they're gonna be a lot better. They're gonna be the surprise because I mentioned it last year that Kyler Murray is probably one of the best number one picks that we completely forgot about last season. I mean, he won Rookie of the Year for a reason.
Yeah.
He put up some stupid numbers. He was one of the best quarterbacks last year, and we just kind of overlooked him. He literally had no pressure because we were so focused on everything else. We forgot that dude was existing. And I got to give this one thing, too. I'm going to eat some crow on this one.
Okay.
Cliff Kingsbury has surprised me. He went the complete opposite of Texas Tech, and not in performance. He isn't forcing the pass. He's actually became more of a run-centric offense setup, and I have to give him props. He's listening to his advisors, and he is taking advantage of getting his head coaching job. So, Cliff, my bad. I was skeptical. You're probably going to prove us wrong.
Mm-hmm. Okay, who's your other wild card team?
So outside of the Cardinals,
yes,
whoo, buddy. My other one's going to be the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints are going to be the team that's going to continuously make the playoffs. They're built for it. They're about to go broke, but they're built for it. Do you know what their cap looks like next year?
I don't.
They are negative $78 million in the cap.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why the Alvin Kamara situation was such a big deal. They're struggling. Mina Kimes mentioned it on, I think, Highly Questionable, and I was like, she's lying. I went back and looked. She is telling the truth. And it's not that she's a liar. It's just that it's an absurd amount of money to be that far in the hole. They're in the hole. They're going to struggle.
So they're going to have to blow up portions of this roster after this season.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. They're going to have to do because they got to pay a lot of people.
It might be a full blow up.
Oh, they're going to have to. I mean, well, Drew Brees might file off the books. Bring in Jameis Winston because it ain't going to take
right.
What you got?
Well, as I said earlier, the only thing I hate worse than disagreeing with you is agreeing with you. It's the Saints and the Cardinals. The Saints are going to go 11-5. The Bucs are going to go 12-4. So that's why the Saints aren't going to get that division lead. But the Saints are going to get in there, and the Cardinals are going to get in there at 10-6.
Wait.
With the Cardinals,
go ahead, continue.
Well, with the Cardinals, one thing that's going to hold all that together, that locker room, is Larry Fitzgerald.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, why do you have that look on your face?
No.
I cannot go on until you tell me.
You got to keep going.
The math is right?
We'll get there.
The Bucs win the division at 12-4. The Saints are 11-5, and they still make the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Math is there. You're right.
So it's not that.
It's not that. Continue.
So the Cardinals, Larry Fitzgerald is going to hold all of that talent together in the locker room. And when you talk about Cliff Kingsbury, I think that he's smart enough to realize you don't want Kyler Murray throwing 30 to 40 times a game. Why? Because you have to face Aaron Donald twice a year. You got to face that 49ers defense twice a year. And now you got Bobby Swagner and Jamal Adams twice a year. So you need to establish a really strong run game in order to help further protect your second-year quarterback who, he's obviously very mobile, but that offensive line is a little bit better but still kind of so-so. So the Saints and the Cardinals get in as the wild card teams.
I'm there for it.
Now, what was the look for?
So the look for is, okay, let's go ahead and talk about the two, because it's obvious we have to talk about the teams that don't make the playoffs last year that did make it.
Yes.
And
I get what you're saying.
That's why I made the face.
I get it.
Because that surprised me. So let's start with the two teams that will be replaced in the playoffs, and we'll talk about who's going to replace them.
Okay.
NFC.
Who ain't going?
Go ahead. Give it to me.
49ers. My 49ers.
That's why I made that face.
7 minutes away from winning a Super Bowl. They're not going. They're not going to go back to the playoffs. Why? Well, for one, a diehard 49ers fan would know this. They're going into the season with guys on both sides of the ball injured, and that's never how you want to go into a season, especially with COVID looming over your roster and knowing that you're going to lose some guy. You already have. You've lost one of your starting linebackers, Fred Warner, to COVID for the time being. So you combine that with the Super Bowl hangover, which to me is a real thing.
Yep.
And I know this team is saying all the right things, like they're still motivated. They got to get 7 minutes better, et cetera. And they still have the majority of those pieces last season, except DeForest Buckner, but this is just not their year. They're going to have to go through in that division, because the Rams are going to be better. went to a Super Bowl a couple years ago. We already talked about the Cardinals and the Seahawks. That's going to be too much for this team to overcome. And I think that Jimmy Garoppolo is going to get exposed just a little bit more, that he's good, but I don't think he's not better than Russell Wilson. And Kyler Murray is on a trajectory to be much better than he ever has been. So unfortunately, the 49ers aren't going to make it. And how many times have we seen that? The team that loses the Super Bowl cannot get back to the playoffs the next season. So to me, this is that. Okay. So they're not going, and the Vikings, for reasons that I mentioned earlier, still a solid team, but they're not going either because the Saints and Cardinals are better than both of them. And Kirk Cousins, he's going to struggle, as he always seems to do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so for me, I actually have 3 teams that's not going to play the playoffs this year that were, because I've actually made switches on the NFC with that, is your 49ers. Mm-hmm. This is my thought with the 49ers. I look at them the exact same way I look at the LA Rams last year. Mm-hmm. The way that Jared Goff was exposed and that team was exposed was, if you want to beat them, change your defense after Jared Goff can no longer talk to Sean McVay. Uh-huh. They expose that Sean McVay is the starting quarterback along with the head coach.
Right.
And because of that, the 49ers are going to run into the exact same situation with Garoppolo and the setup. Their gimmicky setup and offense was all power run, mm-hmm. throw the ball over the top.
Yep.
That's going to get caught up by all the great defensive coordinators in the NFC. That's going to drop them just out the playoffs. Yep. The team is still talented. Yeah. They've got enough run power to continue to go, and the defense is still pretty stout.
Yeah.
But like you said, with those injuries, that changes the dynamic of what they have. And because of that, that's what's going to keep them from making a play. That's what's going to keep them out at like a 10-6, like inches away mm-hmm. from clawing their way into the playoffs. Mm-hmm. The next team is the Eagles. I don't think they can stay healthy. That's an issue for me.
I guess that'd be one of mine too.
Yeah, the Eagles aren't going to stay healthy. Because they won the division last year.
Yes, they did.
And so I don't think they're going to stay healthy enough to be able to do anything. Carson Wentz has not proven to us he can last an entire season, and this is his 4th year now. He still hasn't proven to us he can make it a full season, especially when it matters. So because of that, I cannot rely on them as of yet. Whenever they can show me they're healthy, especially having a running game that's actually healthy, because Miles Sanders has gone in and out of being healthy.
He's nicked up right now.
He's nicked up as we speak. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what they're going to look like with that. And then the last team, I don't know why I did this, but when I look back at it, I get why I did it. The Packers. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. I think they're going to be the team that goes like 11-5 or 10-6 and be right outside of arm's reach. Yeah. I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to butt heads too much with his head coach. And because of the butting heads and the fact that his replacement is watching him every single play and watching every move he makes, he's going to borderline fold. He's going to be so irritated the entire season that he's not going to be able to lead them.
And with that, real quick, does that give the team the leverage in a sense to, I guess, since Aaron Rodgers knows that his replacement is already there, we want to play this way. So if you intend on continuing to play jazz when we want you to stay within the structure of the play, we've already got your replacement. This is the system that we're going with. We're choosing LaFleur's system and Jordan Love over you. So if, like you said, if he does butt heads this season with his coach LaFleur, do you think that will make his exit out of Green Bay sooner rather than later?
I don't think so. The problem you run into is honestly Jordan Love is kind of a jazz player too. Mm-hmm. He's better on the move. And so unless you plan on tweaking your system for Jordan Love where he can move, you may as well do the same thing for Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. The only issue with Aaron Rodgers is Aaron does do a lot of impromptu stuff. Like you said, he is really a jazz player.
Right.
He goes out on a limb. It's beautiful when it works. It's still beautiful when it doesn't work. Right. It's just that it doesn't always work, and it frustrates younger coaches like LaFleur who wants to just stick to a particular plan.
Yeah.
They're going to run into that same issue with Jordan Love, which I feel like Jordan Love might get his career kind of ruined by that. But I don't think it leads to them getting rid of him early. I feel like he's going to be there. He's going to at least go the 3 years. Jordan Love's going to learn behind him, and then he's going to jump right there in the driver's seat.
Okay.